Lamborghini V12s are some of the most special automotive experiences in the entire world. Unmatched in terms of drama, they embody sensory overload in a car. And this right here, to me, marks the end of an era of supercar, a more raw, analog, hardcore, uncompromising supercar. As they got newer, they started to add more technology, they became a little more digital, still very fast and special in their own way, but they couldn't match the experience of this older era of supercar. This car right here is a Lamborghini Murcielago Roadster, the LP640, which means it's the refreshed mid-cycle car. The pre-LP came with a 6.2-liter naturally aspirated V12, making 571 horsepower and 480 pound-feet of torque. For the LP640, they upsized it to a 6.5-liter V12 that makes 632 horsepower and 487 pound-feet of torque. You had two transmission options available, either a 6-speed E-gear like this car is equipped, which was that era's kind of paddle shifter, semi-automated manual transmission, or you could have a good old-fashioned 6-speed gated manual transmission. Those are properly special. Today, we're going to take this Murcielago Roadster for a drive, do a review. I am so excited because this was the definition of my poster car as I was growing up. The Murcielago has the doors that go up, the V12, and the sound. Oh boy, this thing sounds absolutely insane. In terms of exterior styling, the LP640 brought some updates to the Murcielago. So we have a new front bumper, rear bumper, the headlights stay the same, but the taillights get refreshed. When its socket has this gigantic single exit exhaust tip, this one has an aftermarket setup on it, and then the other typical Murcielago cues. It's tremendously wide, 81 inches wide. That's like as wide as a Chevy Suburban. Obviously scissor doors, the doors that go up is a signature cue for the Lamborghini V12s. This one's a Roadster, we have the roof off, got the glass engine cover, you can see that V12 in the back. It is mid-engine layout, crazy wide. You got the bat wings that go up. This one has actually been repainted to Verde Ithaca. This was originally a black car, and Verde Ithaca is one of my favorite Lamborghini paints. I mean, just look at it in the sun. Time to take the Murci for a drive. So we've got the key here, flip up, insert, let everything prime. So you immediately start noticing some of the weird little quirks. The seat belts in the Murcielago are in the middle. Parking brake is actually on the left side, so if it stayed up, you wouldn't be able to get out. So it actually drops back down. We got to pull it back up, press the button, release, brake light goes off. Always drive in Corsa, press that button. We're in neutral, there's first gear, and off we go. Window switches are in the middle. Go ahead and put the window all the way up. There we go. My God. Holy crap. Well, that's a Lamborghini Murcielago V12, but this does not have an ordinary exhaust on it. It has some sort of one-off from Ryder Engineering that was designed for a Lamborghini Murci race car. It looks like a work of art. I'll put a picture of the headers up here. You can't see it back there, but it's like the headers are just twisting there and it's just nothing after that. Just straight pipe. You could say this is a straight pipe Lamborghini Murcielago. Oh, those downshifts. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Let's talk about the interior. So Lamborghini Murcielagos are like ergonomically horrendous. They are not designed for tall people. They're designed for garden gnomes, short little people. If I sit up straight, like half of my head is in the wind, right? It's like above the windshield. Visibility isn't great, right? It's got a very, very angled windshield, so your viewing window is very, very small. Blind spots are absolutely massive. It's a bit better as a roadster compared to the coupe, right? Because I can just see out. That is definitely a bit better, but not designed for 6'3" people. Wow. The layout of things makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Your reverse button is on the left. We have a bunch of other buttons here for headlights and things like that on the left. Window switches in the middle. We have our Corsa mode, traction control. We've got the front lift button here, the bat wings button, mirror controls are in the middle. They did some new things for this compared to the pre-LP Murci. So we have an updated instrument cluster. We have a semblance of an infotainment screen, right? It's kind of this era. We've got this carbon fiber Lamborghini little logo here, but that covers your climate control vents. So we can go ahead and open that up, and we have climate control. It's in degrees Celsius, which probably an Italian thing. This one's got the black and yellow interior. They added a cross stitching, which does look quite nice. I am a sucker for quilted leather, and it's all down the seats, along the doors. The color combo might look a little weird to you, but it's because this car was originally black and was repainted to Verde Ithaca. But it is a Lamborghini of this era. This one also has been optioned with a lot of carbon fiber. The entire center dash here, the paddle shifters, the console here, all the little trim pieces. There's a lot of carbon fiber on this. So this must have been a quite high spec Murcielago Roadster back when it was new in 2008. Woo! Getting passed by some bikes going very, very quickly. So yeah, ergonomics inside here is not fantastic. I've had my hair getting blown in the wind the entire time. I'm kind of like slouched down. Space is decent. You sit kind of like angled inwards. It's a tremendously wide car, but it's not like you're lounging here in a GT car. The seats have the Lamborghini logo embroidered on them. Nice bucket seats. But enough about that. What is this thing like to drive? I have no idea if you guys can hear me over this exhaust. I'm like borderline shouting, so we'll see how well my mics do with this. I've driven a pre-LP Murcielago convertible Roadster. I've driven a LP coupe. LP Roadster is the best of both. You get the open air experience, and the sound of that engine is just right behind you. And these E-gear downshifts are violent. There is like a special way of driving E-gear. Typically, you almost have to do it like a manual transmission. I let off the gas, do the shift, and let it get back into it. It is not anything like modern dual clutches, right? You get kind of that wave motion. It can be jerky. Low speeds are pretty rough. You have to wait for it to warm up. It is an old paddle shifter transmission of this era. But it brings a character to the car. It adds to the personality. Lamborghini said these would do 211 miles an hour. You need a lot of space for that. And by today's standards, right, it's not crazy power. The Revuelto coming out is massively more powerful. The Aventador final ones were in the high 700 horsepower range. So we've stepped up and stepped up. You have family sedans making this kind of power now. But you don't need that. This is the emotional experience. I haven't ever driven a car that's as exciting, raw, emotional, but as terrible to drive. Like, they're not good handling cars. You feel the size. It feels almost ponderous at times. in terms of pure weight, it's not like crazy heavy. I think around 3,700 pounds. Roadster does add to it. It does get a little floppier, but it's not like ridiculously heavy, but it's just a more prehistoric era of performance sports cars and supercars. It will trend towards understeer. It is an all-wheel drive. It's a split of 30% torque to the front, 70% to the rear. It's pretty heavily weight biased towards the rear too. You got everything back there, right? The big engine, the 6.5 liter V12. The noises. This exhaust is interesting. So I've been in my buddy Alex's Kreisig equipped LP640, and he has a brilliant exhaust on his other one, and those are much more high pitched, that like F1 car sound. This is raspier. This has volume. Oh my God, this is definitely one of the top 3 loudest cars I have ever driven. We got some curvy, winding stuff coming up now. It just keeps revving and revving and revving. Oh my goodness. This has the optional carbon ceramic brakes, which are very grabby. They stop the car, but you gotta learn to modulate them. Yeah, you feel the width of this car. Oh, listen to it echoing off the walls. Oh my God! Holy crap! So, you know, I started off talking about how this is like the end of an era of analog, brutal, raw supercars. You can see what I mean. The Aventador is awesome, right? That's another one of my dream cars. All Lamborghini V12s become poster cars for all children and teenagers and adults across the world, right? The Aventador is amazing, but it brings it into the modern era. You have more creature comforts. The E-gear gets a little more refined. It's still brutal. It kicks you in the back of your head, but it's just more advanced. More advanced suspension, everything. This still feels like old school, but not so old like a Diablo or something even older like that, right? This still is kind of that bridge of the mid to late 2000s. I remember the first time I drove a V12 Lamborghini, it was a first generation Aventador. And it was the example of like, never meet your heroes. Because I drove it, I was like, oh, that wasn't nice handling. I couldn't see out of it. Like, is this what supercars are like? Until years later now, I've got more experience. I've driven so many more sports cars and supercars, and I've realized these flagship V12 Lambos aren't meant to be the best handling, the best track car. They've done it with stuff like the SVJ. They somehow made that a fast track car. But especially stuff like this. This is the experience car. It is the noises, the drama, the doors. And the way the power builds. slowly, then you get the 4 to 5 to 6,000 RPM, and it just like starts pushing you more and more. It's the glory of a naturally aspirated V12. Lamborghini said, I think 0 to 60 for an LP640 was 3.4 seconds, but it's much more expensive in terms of clutches, right? Launch control will eat your E-gear clutch, and at probably 10, 20 grand a pop, that's an expensive clutch. Things go wrong, like the bat wings go wrong, the hydraulic door struts to hold the scissor doors up. There's so many things. You have to budget for it. But once you take care of it and you drive these cars, they do well. This one has over 23,000 miles on it. I think my friend Alex has even more on his LP640. He's driven it, enjoyed it. You have to use these cars, these older ones. They can't just sit there on a trickle charger. You have to use them, and they'll reward you. The old Italian tune-up, right? Just run at the red line, blow it all out, and you'll be all good to go. Let's talk about value. Well, when these were new, a Murcielago LP640 was like mid 300s. Years later, they've actually held value pretty well. So mid 300s when they were new. Now a regular LP is probably in the mid to high 200s for an E-gear car. Roadsters fetch a little bit more, high 200s to maybe low 300s. The big caveat here is if you had a gated manual, right? You could have ordered this brand new with a E-gear paddle shifter, and that was like the new fancy kind of popular thing, or you get the 6-speed gated manual transmission. If you'd bought the gated manual, these days, those are double to triple the value. So that would have been a smart buy, right? A gated LP640 is so rare. They're worth 800,000 to $1 million, but even even non-gated cars, an E-gear LP640 is still special. They're so rare. Low production, the experience, the noise, you get the engine, you get almost everything. In E-gear, I used to love to hate on it, right? I was like, oh, it's such a terrible transmission. I used to make fun of R-Tronic in the R8's kind of the Audi equivalent as R-Tragic, but maybe I've gotten older. I'm wiser now. Well, let's go with that. It has its own charm. It has its own unique experience to it. It's not good. You have to know how to drive it, but it just adds to this era of car. And I would absolutely take even an E-gear LP640. That's a car you buy, you just keep absolutely forever. This car has a history, it has a story, but even cars of history and story, these cars are so rare and special, they still hold their value, right? And then another point on value. This generation, you had the Ferrari 599, also a V12. It was front engine, a little bit more of a Grand Touring car, but still, a V12 naturally aspirated Ferrari going up head to head against this. 599 values, 150 to 200s, substantially lower than an LP640. And I think long term, LP640s will do better. Long term, I think these are going to be some of the most valuable V12 Lamborghinis out there because they bridge the gap. When my generation, people in their late 20s, 30s, and 40s, as we get older and we have more money, this is what I want. This is my poster car. This is what I will spend $800,000, $1 million to buy. I would sell my kidney for a Murcielago SV if my kidney was worth enough, right? It sadly is not. So that era is what's special to me. It means this car is way more iconic to me than you rewind 20, 30 years to whatever Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Duesenbergs and stuff like that. Stuff you see at Pebble Beach Concourse on the lawn, right? That car goes by and it's, oh, that was $7 million. I'm like, I wouldn't buy that for $7 million. I want a Ferrari Enzo. I want a Murcielago SV, right? It's gonna shift, I think. And that's why I think these are gonna be so special in the future. So absolutely special and just such an amazing, amazing experience. Like, wow. This car, again, is not perfect. You may be able to see for some of the exterior clips. It's got dings, it's got scratches, it's got a history. But when you hop in the car and drive it, this exhaust, oh my God. I genuinely don't know if the audio is any good in this video. I hope it is. I truly hope it is. But I would want one with miles. Get it all mechanically sorted, make it look pretty nice, you know, 10 feet away, as long as it looks good for an Instagram photo. And I just want to drive it, put miles on it. It's good in like the big long sweepers, nice turns. I wouldn't take this on like a really tight curvy canyon road, but just the experience, I mean, it's a whole thing to take it out. I wouldn't just be taking this to the grocery store. Like, it would become a little inconvenient. A special occasion, you take this out, but at the same time, it makes even ordinary occasion special. Oh my God, Lamborghini Murcielago, what a car. I need a V12 in my life. I absolutely need a V12 in my life. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you could hear me in this video. I hope you could hear this V12. Absolutely insane. Thanks for watching, guys.